I'm gonna go with a early hook shot.
All right, so we see ThreeDucks making his way to Uncle right now, whereas SpiffersTheGrand makes his way up to the traditional North route.
Ah, yes, this is a more traditional way to go through. Just getting a few items here in the early escape. Oh, and getting a vanilla sword. That is unusual for an open seed.
Very nice. And on Spiffer's side, we see all the favorable RNG. He gets bombs from the tree pole and red rupees from the crab. So both our runners are getting very valuable finds early on.
Man, is this an early sign of a jet seed? Because if so, this is going to be a short one, people.
I would say by the signs pointed by that blue rupee in the sanctuary chest, I'm going to say no. But you never know. It is V26. We have had some jet seeds in the past. I believe the record's around a 109 right now. So anything can happen, really.
Indeed. At least with an early weapon like a sword right now, it's going to give him a very useful item just all around. A sword, I mean, is useful to kill enemies, break down a few barriers, and, just get things out of your way.
Right, and we're seeing some early value here with Spiffers getting that blue cane from the vanilla mushroom spot and now getting the Book of Menorah on the Thieves' Cave here.
So we might actually see an early pedestal check here. Might as well. You're already in the woods.
It's a very, very wise play. You're 2 minutes in. It's not going to cost you that much time to go up here now. And it could make or break your race with that knowledge early on.
Indeed. It's one of those things where sometimes you just need the right information at the right time to make valuable decisions. And here we see that it's just a bit of love, so it's not a pedestal seed, unfortunately.
I think, unfortunately for us, the viewers, but fortunately for our runners here, I know when I'm a runner, I don't really want to see that pedestal seed.
Definitely, I get you there. I myself have two pedestal seeds so far on 3 races. So yeah, I'm good. Had enough of those.
Yeah, I feel you there. So we see ThreeDucks electing not to do the pedestal check. He's just going to go down South Kakariko, and we actually see a quick early map there from him, and Green Pendant is indeed Eastern Palace.
Which is where the Green Pendant usually is, and to be fair, Green Pendant still might have some value in it, because Green Pendant does give you access to an extra item at Sarashala. But until these guys get the bow, they certainly won't be finding what that item is. Now we already got a Master Sword and a bow from ThreeDucks right now. That's amazing so far.
There's that commentator curse. You got the bow. You asked for it. You got it.
Seems to be something that happens a lot in my commentary.
We also picked up the Master Sword early on too, so that's going to mean early Aghanim could be a possibility here.
Indeed. Still something that's locked right now, as the early Aghanim still requires a lamp to go through by logic. But it is still up there.
Yeah, indeed. You don't want to go through that Hyrule Castle without that lamp. It is a tough set of dark rooms. A lot of RNG can manipulate your way through there, so it's not as easy as the other dark rooms in the game.
Oh, definitely. With guards all around the place and even mazes with holes in them, yeah, it's definitely not something even the best runners of this game don't do.
Right, and just a simple rule of thumb for Randomizer, if you don't have a lamp, the game's not going to push you for progression through a dark room.
Exactly. You're never required to do so. But if you do so, it is a sequence break, which can give you an early advantage. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. Now, so far, these guys have been getting a lot of money. That could be a sign of just an early Zora check, too.
Could be. So rupees typically aren't going to. It does not weigh into the progression or the logic, so to speak. But it is definitely helpful for the runners to have that option early on, just in case they have to check Zora. You never want to really do Aga 1 without that Zora check if possible, just because it could have your progression for Dark World.
Indeed, it's somewhat out of the way too. You need items to check everything around there, and mainly the flippers if you want to get to that large item, or either the flippers or the moon pearl to go into the waterfall cave that's just besides there. Now it seems like ThreeDucks is going to go look at the dam. Pretty standard play so far, especially in the beginning here. You always want to just scour around Kakariko Village and a few other places. Mainly, all the south shore here of Hyrule has a lot of small caves with. It's very standard to see most players just scour around and find a few good early items so they can route out the next few steps.
Absolutely, it is definitely the safest play they could make right now. Makes for 7 early easy items, 2 at the dam and 5 in Mini Moldorm Cave, which you are sure to find very shortly by ThreeDucks screen. Very, very risk-free, usually has values, why not?
Now it is interesting to see that ThreeDucks right now only has a single bomb. So unless he gets a lucky bomb jump, a lucky bomb drop somewhere around here, he won't be able to look into Ice Cave.
You're right, he won't. So hopefully he can get a bomb jump or a bomb jump. See, yeah, I'm thinking bomb jumps now too. A bomb jump either along the way as well. Oh, and he gets his 3 bombs there. Very lucky.
This is a very good thing, but unfortunately, the Moldorm Cave didn't pay off today. Only a few more rupees and a few bombs. A bit of love. Now, these guys did pick up a few hearts along the way, which is pretty useful all over the scene, just because you're not going to get very far in general just with 3 hearts in the beginning, especially when you start venturing in Dark World. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, early hearts are very beneficial for them, especially in open mode. Specifically in the area that ThreeDucks is in right now, with the crabs doing 2 damage hearts each. So very beneficial for them to have that early health.
Oh yeah, I think pretty much everybody has died at least once to crabs so far.
All right, so quite a few places they can look at right now within the logic. So they have Eastern, minus the Dark Room, all of it open to them within the logic. They also have Desert open for a check as well. On top of that, the Desert Ledge item, which is always exciting getting that early book.
Ah yes, it's and if they're lucky, they might get a few items inside of Desert itself, depending on what is on the torch. Now it looks like ThreeDucks decided to go with a swim right now using the fake flippers glitch. It is a minor glitch, so it is allowed to be used. It is a very useful thing to go check a few more locations, such as where he's going right now, to see the guy under the bridge here.
It is a sharp play early on. They're already there. He's going to be able to check out the hobo, and if he wants to reverse fake flipper back, he will actually be able to visit Zora right now. He won't be able to get the waterfall cave or the ledge item right now because he doesn't have Moon Pearl or boots for a combo there, but he will definitely be able to go to Zora if he wants. And it looks like he is trying to set up for it right now.
And it did kind of pay off to go see Hobo. I mean, he got the blue mail from it.
Meanwhile, Spiffer is getting the blue mail and the hammer from Sahasrahla Cave.
So double blue mail, different places. That's unusual. And also a hammer, of course.
Yeah, you're loving that early hammer if you see it. It's one of those items that really unlocks almost the most locations for you in Dark World. So anytime you can get that early, you're really loving life. And we do see ThreeDucks, unfortunately, taking a death here, doing the fake flipper. Or was he on the shallow water and just low on health?
I believe it was the fake flipper, as he was low on health, but he should have been able to survive that hit.
Right, because of course with the changes in V25, and when you're fake flippering, if you do take damage, you will die outright instead of a soft lock.
Which is still regrettable, but less of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, he can always route to Zora later. It will hurt him, unfortunately, if there is progression there, but right now, it's one item. He should be okay, and he's going to be very happy with what he finds in Sahasrahla's hut right now.
Indeed. With the red mail now in hand and the hammer, he will have not only a strong weapon with the hammer that does the same amount of damage as the tempered sword, and having the red mail so early, these guys are pretty much set to not having any early death. But it also means not having any of death strats to warp around in dungeons.
You're quite right there. So death warps are going to be a little bit of a problem with the early red mail, but the big benefit to that is you're not going to die very easily. You're going to have to take a significant amount of damage from tougher enemies, if not from bullets that still do 100 of damage regardless of the mail you carry.
Now, in Eastern here, this is quite a play we see often with players. And you see here in Spiffer's screen, he just got the glove, the power glove. It was a pretty good gamble to go through here, especially since now they almost have everything they need to go explore Dark World.
Yes, they do. They just have to find that elusive Moon Pearl now. So the chances of an AGA 1 seed are dwindling quite quickly.
Yep, at this point, there's so many places they can go at. Really, the only thing that's blocking them is the Moon Pearl and maybe the lamp for a few places.
Indeed. Speaking of the lamp, we do say goodbye to Spiffers here as he is attempting the Dark Eastern Palace play. Getting through the dark rooms is, of course, a sequence break, but he is going to risk it to see what the vanilla big key has for a possible third item.
Yeah, because Eastern has 3 items in it, and a lot of dungeons has more than 2 items, which are usually the prize from the dungeon and the heart at the end. And we see here Spiffers got the shovel. So he decided to go through with the dungeon too, which is not a bad play.
Yeah, and a fetch quest from a dark room, very, very interesting how that's going to play in their progression. So meanwhile, we see Spiffers continuing on. He's going to grab some health before he attempts the dark room. Very smart play here. Will help him out with this this dark room coming up. Traditionally, it actually is a tougher dark room with the Igors there. If you lose position of them quite quickly, it will be awfully painful, regardless of the mail you have.
Indeed, it's so hard to orient yourself inside of here, and once these guys go back to sleep, you can't really hurt them. So it's very hard to just find where you are and where you're supposed to go.
And we do see the Igor doing 1 heart of damage regardless of mail to ThreeDucks, and unfortunately he takes a death. and he's actually going to piece out of East Room while Spiffers continues on.
No, I don't think ThreeDucks made a bad decision of going away here, as going through the dungeon again to maybe have another death is not something he's looking forward to. So he'll go explore something else. And besides, it's not in the logic to finish this dungeon right now, so it's probably not something they require to explore further in.
Right, like something like the Pearl could be at Green Pendant. Of course, we know Shovel is at the Vanilla Big Key Chest, which he did elect to skip. So unless they find early lamp, this will not net them the Pearl. Instead, we see ThreeDucks getting the Bombos from the back 3 chests and escape. So quite interested to see if he's going to make the desert play coming up, what he's thinking about doing here.
Indeed. Now Spiffers just got his green pendant, which he will probably go turn in right now, as he's very close to Sarashala's place.
Why not? Meanwhile, we're going to see ThreeDucks actually elect to go to Death Mountain here. Interesting play.
Oh yeah, because he still doesn't have the lamp. It looks like the gamble did not pay off for Spiffer, getting only 3 bombs from his green pendant.
Yeah, rather unfortunate, but he still does have that shovel that he has not cashed in yet. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks making his way through the Dark Room in Death Mountain quite well. So he's going to be able to get the Uncle as a sequence break for an item. He's also going to be able to see what's on top of Spectacle Rock and what's inside it. Without the mirror, he won't actually be able to access Hair or East Death Mountain just yet.
Yep, but at least a good thing out of it is, since he did rescue the old man, he will be able to start from here anytime he saves and quit, back into the menus.
Right, it's a value play in that sense for routing, because he's not wasting any time getting that warp. The only time he kind of does would be if you got an early flute, but really you want to have that warp as soon as you can.
Now, in Spiffer's screen, we can see that he might be going for desert now, as we said a bit earlier. And it looks like ThreeDucks found out that there was a red cane inside of Spectacle Rock.
Yeah, so the sequence break was worth for now. It's not an item that's going to help him out just yet, but getting an early red cane is really, really beneficial. It's one of those items you don't really want to have to chase after mid to late game.
Oh yeah, you definitely don't want to be going into dungeons here and there trying to find that cane. It's a pain.
Absolutely. So we have Spiffers here, actually. He's going to check out Agina's before he potentially gets a scout on Desert Ledge and enters Desert itself.
Yeah, better get that place out of the way, as Agina's Cave has no requirements for its item placement, so really it can have almost anything in it.
Why not? And it looks like we're going to see ThreeDucks complete off the rest of Escape here. We do know there's going to be 3 items, since in the back 3 we did have Mapping Key. So he knows there's going to be 3 items in the chests leading to Zelda's cell, and we will also have 1 in Sewer as well.
Yeah, that's the thing that most players tend to do nowadays, is try to count in the items you find inside the dungeons, just to know which chest could have what inside of it. It can save you valuable seconds over the run, just to know that, oh, this next chest I don't have to open it because I know it's the map in it. So you route a bit differently.
Right, definitely valuable information for racers. It does save them quite a bit of time, almost invaluably so. Understanding like item checks and counts just to save themselves from checking unnecessary locations. And we get the boots by ThreeDucks. He's gonna be happy to see those.
Meanwhile, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and we see Spiffers save and quit, so we do know those boots are gonna be required for desert.
So it looks like ThreeDucks has the lead so far with finding these boots.
All right, so ThreeDucks electing to do the Death Warp here. A little slow at the red mail, but honestly, it is the right play.
Yeah, over saving and quitting at the bottom here. Might as well just try to die if you don't have that much HP.
So Spiffer's getting his Moon Pearl here in Desert. I think we missed it. Is going to elect now to go into Dark World and route right to Hype Cave.
Yeah, that's a very good play on him, especially early on. If you have every item just to go explore Dark World, do so. Especially since the Hype Cave here does have 5 items in it.
Right, definitely a value play early on. Let's see what Hype Cave contains for us. We're going to get a magic powder, a bottle, heart container, and 300 bucks. So we're going to get 2 fetch quests out of that, both of which we can access.
Yep, this is definitely a pretty hype cave. I mean, it's not the best of items, but it's a good safety with the powder and an extra bottle for checking a sick kid, and of course, a very valuable bee inside of it.
Right, and it's definitely more hype than the median of hype that has been Hype Cave lately in this tournament. Awfully dull, except a couple of exciting moments here or there. So that's honestly a Hype Cave I can stand behind.
And we can see here ThreeDucks trying to get that chest. He only gets a big heart out of it, but at least he has his mind. He knows that he got every item inside of here. So good on him for going through these dark rooms. The last one is definitely a hard one.
Right, and it looks like he's going to elect to check out Bonk Rocks right away. Meanwhile, Spiffers is going right for the bat here. Actually, he was pulling out the shovel, but it looks like he's just getting his menu back to the hammer now.
Yeah, menuing is not an easy thing to do in Randomizer. You never know what items you really find over, so you need to adapt quickly and menu quickly, and sometimes you don't pull out the right item.
I just was hoping he wasn't expecting to dig up the flute there. All right, so we have ThreeDucks over here. He's looking like he's about to go into desert, making his way down there with the ever so fast boots. Meanwhile, Spiffer's exiting out of the powder cave here from the bat. Looks like he's about to check out Sick Kid.
And with that, it's going to be another fetch quest down. I wonder if he's going to go through Zora next.
Could be a play.
With ThreeDucks getting into desert here, he won't be able to complete it, unfortunately, since he doesn't have a fire source so far.
Right, but he is going to be able to explore the majority of the dungeon here with the boots, however, so he is going to have a slight advantage over Spiffers, depending on what he finds. We do know he's going to find the Moon Pearl, and that's the main item he's going to want to see here anyways, so I'll put a smile on his face, but maybe we'll get another progression item in here as well.
Yep, it's definitely... he's definitely a very good place here to find his way through the seed. Now Spiffers decide to go into the Dark World.
Alright, so we do see Crystals 5 and 6 being Swamp and Skull Woods. Meanwhile, the pendant dungeons in Dark World today are going to be Ice Palace and Pod.
Now, since we already know that pedestal isn't required, seeing a Ice Palace as a pendant is always a treat.
And what these runners probably don't like seeing is Pendant Pod as well. But the good news is they did get early bow. with Pendant Eastern, Pendant Pod, Bo could have actually been in Ganon's tower, so it could have probably weighed heavily on the minds of our racers, but fortunately enough, it was very friendly in Kakariko.
And Spiffers actually found the fire rod in the first chest he opened in Skull Woods. That is very lucky.
That's awesome. So he's going to actually be able to complete Skull Woods now if he wants to.
Yeah, that would actually be quite hard for him right now. Despite having a blue mail, he is still on the fighter sword.
Right, because he never went to Uncle for his sword there, so hopefully he does remember to go back there, because having Master Sword in Dark World is really going to be helpful over the Fighter Sword.
And Spiffers just found the flute as his second item inside of Skull Woods. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I can't believe.
That's a loaded Skull Woods right there. Flute Fire Rod, you couldn't be happier.
I usually go about how Skull Woods always tends to have something good in version 26, and it did not disappoint again.
It did not, and unfortunately, Spiffer's taking a death in Dark World. It did look like he was going to save and quit, so this might pull him to where he wants to go, which is actually escape to get that extra sword and his boots.
Yes, because we do have to say that for each minute that ThreeDucks has the boots, it's a minute he goes a bit faster than Spiffers, just because he can dash around.
Spiffers was heading in the right way, but is electing to save and quit. Let's see where he decides to go here. He's going to cash in his flute. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah, I can't understand very much why he would want to do so, because flute is another one of those items that the earlier you get it, the more time save you have all around.
Right, and it does open up Death Mountain for him as well, so if he chose to, he would be able to get his Red Cane in Spectacle Rock Cave, and that would be with the logic.
Yeah, that's true. This seed so far has been giving a lot of items, so very fast.
It has been quite quick so far, so quite interested to see where our next progression item is going to be. B26 notoriously will spread out items quite well, so although we are seeing a lot of quick items, chances are it could be a lull until we start seeing items such as Titan Mitts or the Hookshot coming up.
Indeed, that can be a very trolly thing. And we still haven't seen the mirror too, which is another one of those items you don't want to see very late in the seed.
Right, in fact, it is required for a Crystal Swamp as well. Looked like chat was having a little bit of fun with the swag ducks in chat as well, fluting along to the song.
Looks like ThreeDucks has decided to complete Skull Woods right now. I wouldn't mind with his setup, since he does have the Master Sword and the Red Mail. It's going to be a bit easier.
Oh, yes, it will be. The Master Sword is a big difference maker versus Moth. Not so much for the Fighter Sword damage, but more the distance that it takes to fight an enemy that's essentially on a track with spikes coming at you. So it's going to be a very, very, very softer fight than, say, Green Mail Fighter Sword.
Indeed, because the damage won't change really from the spikes, but it will change from the damage Mothula does.
Right, and ThreeDucks was having a little bit of problems with the Hellway there with the Gibdos, but it looks like he got through it okay. And now we see Spiffers entering in the C-shaped house, just getting the 20 rupees here. I would imagine he's going to go into Thieves next.
Most likely. I mean, Thieves Town does have 4 items in it, and it does not have any requirements really other than having access to Dark World to complete it. And since they do have the hammer, they will be able to also check what's in the big chest.
Right. It's almost like V26's way of trolling runners. Whenever you get early hammer, it almost always seems like there's going to be a compass in that big chest. So we'll see if that happens tonight. Oh, and ThreeDucks taking death here at Moth, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate since he will need to do that a bit later on, since Skullwoods is required. But it's fine. At this point, he already got both items from the dungeon, so at least it's only a pendant he needs to do. Not a pendant, a crystal, of course. He might need to do it earlier than we think if Pyramid has something useful in it.
Right, so he's going to cash in his flute as well now. Not a bad play. Going to cash it in, and we'll see where he goes with it next. Not really anything he can unlock with it right now because he doesn't have the Titans. Basically, would unlock Mire Shed area, Mire itself, and that checkerboard cave. But of course, they do need that secondary glove upgrade.
Yeah, that's another one of those choke points inside of the run is the Titan's Mitts and the Hookshot. They're both more items you need to fully explore the Dark World. Now, so far, Spiffers hasn't found anything very useful inside of Thieves Town here.
No, he hasn't, but it is a crystal dungeon as well, so might as well, if you can go into a crystal dungeon and you have the items to do it, why not? You're gonna have to do them anyways. On top of that, Thieves historically isn't a very fast Gomo dungeon versus a full clear anyway. The only real locations you can save time on is not going to the big chest and picking up the secondary key at that skull near the boss doorway.
That's true. As a dungeon, you tend to do it fairly early on, just because of the reason you said, and also it's pretty easy to go through. I think the only real challenge of the dungeon is the boss itself, which no matter what kind of weapon you have, it's 9 hits.
Right, he is a scary boss, but fortunately he is quite transcribable as there is a script to that fight. And we do see ThreeDucks picking up the mirror. That's actually huge right now because that's going to give them Hera access and East Death Mountain access now with the hammer in tow.
Yeah, we did miss it a bit early on when Spiffers went and get it. But it seems like both runners now have it. It's really a useful item, just overall. Makes travel between Dark World to Light World much easier and gives them access to a lot more locations. And we'll see here ThreeDucks going to look at one of those locations. Probably South Grove and Digging Game.
Right, with the mirror in tow, he will be able to do that grotto check with the mirror, and he is in fact going to do Digging Game. Meanwhile, we see Spiffers escorting the Maiden to Lion's dungeon boss room. Little does Link know, he is actually escorting a massive demon.
Now, the blind fight here is very interesting since there is a pattern you can have on it to basically have the same fight every time. It is still hard to learn the pattern, but once you do know it, the fight becomes quite well script.
Right, but Spiffers is actually doing an excellent job with this fight here, taking very minimal damage, and Blind goes down. He had the cane of burning equipped, but he didn't need that at all. Not with that confidence.
He did a fantastic job on it. Shout outs to him for not needing a safety on blind. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks went to see Stumpy only find a bottle of green goo, which can be a bit useful considering he doesn't have any magic right now. Looks like Spiffers is going pretty much the same way, so he'll be finding the next few items in the same order. The only difference now is ThreeDucks is now going into Hype Cave himself.
Right, and he's gonna pick up his bottle, his second bottle actually, and the powder now.
Now, as we did say earlier, I think these runners can go into different dungeons here. There is Palace of Darkness that's available, and also Tower of Hera. Not sure which one is the most valuable one though, because Palace of Darkness does have more items in it, but it is a pendant dungeon. But Tower of Hera is required. It does give you access to also Death Mountain area, which does have more items in it.
Right. So in this kind of causeway here, the fork in the road, so to speak, I feel like Hera and East Death Mountain would probably be the play, whereas Pendant Pod would be the gamble. Yes, they do have the Hammer and Bow 2 complete pod, but it not being a green pendant and also not having any value at the pedestal already that we know of would be quite risky.
Indeed. It all depends on how you feel yourself about in the race. It's a thing I've seen a lot of players do so far in the tournament, that when you are behind, and when you feel you are behind either because of your own execution or bad gambles, you tend to make even more gambles just to try to catch up and find something your opponent wouldn't find for a while. Now, it's sad to see the shovel was only another 50 rupees.
Right, and it looked like Spiffers was actually thinking of going into pod, but he's then elected to check out Old Man, and one has to think if he's going to go up to Hera and East Death Mountain now instead.
Yeah, now that I do think about it, Pod does have a pretty harsh maze in it, which is very hard to go through since it's a dark room. Without the lamp, not sure if these guys can go through it.
Indeed, it could be pretty nasty with the Dodongos in there spitting hot fire that do 1 heart of damage each hit, regardless of mail. What's worse is the dark turtle room that would await them if they decide to go to Helmasaur without the lamp. Alright, so we're going to see ThreeDucks here use his Ether Tablet check with the book and get only 3 bombs for it. Meanwhile, Spiffers is in hot pursuit. He actually hasn't been up here yet, so he will eventually find his Red Cane in Spectacle Rock Cave, which is great for him.
Indeed. Now, ThreeDucks is a bit lucky starting on, fighting the big key downstairs. It's always a fun thing to see right away, so you don't need to go down the tile room just yet. Might be able to skip it if he's pretty lucky in item placement here.
Absolutely. And one has to wonder, when is Spiffers going to go to escape? Because we do know, just as a reminder to chat, Uncle does have his sword upgrade, and it will be his Master Sword. Even better will be the boots on his way to Zelda's cell.
Indeed, both these items are things that he really wants early on. As we said, the boots are just invaluable in saving a bit of time here and there.
They're also required because of Desert having that big key. Also, we haven't had a scout of King's Tomb yet, which is also boots left.
That's true. Well, it's something to keep in mind for later on. Now it looks like ThreeDucks is going to attempt a bomb jump here, and he wasn't confident in his setup, but gets it second try. Not bad. It's a pretty risky bomb jump to go through, since if you do fall down, you fall down all the way down to the first floor. And since you're locked there, you pretty much have to mirror and try the whole dungeon again.
Right, it is a difficult bomb jump, and like you alluded to, if you do fall down that hole, it's about 40 seconds it costs you off your time. So you definitely don't want to miss that.
Looks like Moldorm is having none of it today, pushing off ThreeDucks off the ledge. It can happen from time to time. He does have a nasty attitude, pushing people around.
Yes, indeed he does.
This is a bit of time that Spiffers can take back, and making his way through the dungeon very fast. Sorry there.
Meanwhile, ThreeDucks making quick work with that Trolldorm fight.
Fortunately, finds the map on Trolldorm, which, if my count was right, maybe there's an item downstairs?
That would be correct.
Bit unlucky, but it's not a big time loss, especially if it's a progression item that's down there.
And it looks like ThreeDucks is actually electing to skip the basement.
Let's just hope that it's nothing important there, because if Spiffers does go get it, it's gonna be a even more interesting race.
Yep, just to remind chat here, you are watching the secondary tournament match here between ThreeDucks and Spiffers. Not just pride on the line here. They're actually fighting for 2-2, which would give them a tiebreaker match.
Indeed, this is looking so far to be a very tight race, despite having different paths here and there. Oh, and it does look like there was 2 items already found in Hera, so it was only the compass down there.
Right, which would explain why ThreeDucks elected to gamble and skip his compass. Alright, so SpiffersTheGrand is entering his Trolldorm fight, and ThreeDucks here entering the Southern Chest Cave, also known as the Paradox Cave.
Looks like Spiffers is opting to hammer Moldorm here, which is another great tactic, since the hammer does do tempered sword damage, but it does have a finicky hitbox.
Oh, but he's got to be careful and unfortunately dies.
Oh, and ThreeDucks just found the cape and the lamp here in Death Mountain. That is pretty good on him. Now, this seed is pretty much almost in go mode. I mean, these guys are missing what, the hook shot, the flippers, and no,
Ice Rod.
Ice Rod. All right, that's true, and maybe a medallion.
Potentially. We haven't had scouts of Mire or Turtle Rock. I should also mention we are missing Titan Mitts as well.
Ah, yes, that's true. Titan's Mitts are another item I don't think we've seen so far.
We have not, and that is unlocking. It will, unlock quite a bit of Dark Gold for us right now. We're actually going to see ThreeDucks check the Spike Cave. I wonder if he has enough health here. Does he have a fairy in that bottle? Oh, that's right. He has the cape and blue cane. Never mind. He can traverse this quite safely. And just gets a small shield for his troubles.
Hey, it is a progression items after all.
You know what? It could lead to laser skip if he gets 2 more.
Spiffer's finally getting his crystal from Tower of Hero. Meanwhile, it looks like ThreeDucks is going for that Agahim play right now.
ThreeDucks is going for Aghanim here. Quite curious as to why.
Well, if what I've read is true, then maybe we've missed that Mitz is actually inside of Aghanim Cave, also known as the Lumberjack Cave. So if that's the case, then Aghanim is really required after all.
Oh, Chad is pointing out Titan Mitts are in Aghanim Cave, also known as the Lumberjack Cave. Ah.
That would explain it. Now that is something. That is why we haven't seen these guys go to Hagen any earlier, because without the lamp, this room right here is very hard by itself, and there's even harder ones later on. As soon as Spiffers gets his own lamp, we'll probably see him do exactly the same thing.
Why not? It's going to get him his Titan Mitts. It's also going to get them a scout of what's on that pyramid.
Indeed. We might actually see him do the other part of Castle just to get himself his boots and his Master Sword. It all depends on what his routing choices are.
Right, but with Titan Mitts coming up soon, the pretty much almost all of Dark World's going to be open to them with the hammer in tow. So it's going to be very interesting to see where runners decide to go from there.
Yeah, I don't think it. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was about to say, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing at this part to go into a House of Darkness, maybe for a quick dip and see what it has as treasures in it. I mean, 5 treasures is nothing to scoff at.
Right, indeed. And they can actually, if allowed by the medallion, could go into T-Rock early.
Ooh, that's true. Since they do have the cane and the fire rod, they can do most of Turtle Rock only having Trihex that they can't without the ice rod.
Right, also ThreeDucks with his boots in tow actually has the extra option of going into Mire.
Spiffers is about to get his Master Sword right here. Boom.
He's going to be very happy to find that. Let's see if he elects to do the rest of Escape before he goes to Aghanim 1. And speaking of Aghanim 1, ThreeDucks is making his way through the Aga 1 fight now.
It's a pretty easy fight overall. It's mostly him just throwing balls at you and you deflecting him back in his face. Sometimes he throws blue balls, which there's nothing you can do about it. It's an RNG fight.
Indeed, you are at the whim of randomness there. This is a randomizer after all.
I mean, would you imagine this fight not having any randomness in it? That would be boring.
Believe it or not,
Careful.
once upon a time we did have it like that.
Indeed, it was a small throwback to the last tournament.
All right, so ThreeDucks successful in defeating Aghanim 1. We're going to get a check of that pyramid item. It is only 3 bombs. Meanwhile, good news for Spiffers. He's about to get his boots.
He's going to be happy to see those, or maybe not, depending on if he thinks he could have gotten a lot earlier. Anyway, it's going to be very good for him to find it, since now he can complete a few more dungeons, notably Desert.
Absolutely. So ThreeDucks actually electing to go ahead and check Quakefish here.
It's not a bad play, since we still haven't seen what's at Zora Ledge and at Zora itself.
You're right, it's not, and he can simply mirror from Quakefish here and go to Zora to cash in the 500 rupees for whatever item he has for us.
I would imagine finding flippers around here would be pretty good, since they could also check Waterfall Cave.
That's a bottle of blue goo. Better than nothing.
Yeah, as far as blue goo goes, it's a pretty good goo to have. Full health, full magic. Something people tend to buy a lot in the end game. There's nothing like missing it, that few last magic in the Ganon fight, or even Trihex.
Yep, definitely valuable, and it is free, and it will save them time from buying it, so very nice to have.
Spiffer just got his full heart from the chest in the middle. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks gets a lousy +5 arrow upgrade from just 500 rupees.
Yeah, someone pulling it out in chat. It was quite the scam. Or life lesson, as we all know it as.
They still haven't checked the waterfall cave, since they do not have the fake flipper. They do not have the real flippers, and I believe one of these runners did try the fake flipper up there, but died in the process, so we did not get to see what was there.
Right, it was ThreeDucks, and unfortunately they didn't have the pearl at the time, so they weren't able to enter the waterfall cave and check them. Alright, time to get stronger. ThreeDucks picking up his Titan Mitts. That's going to help him a lot in this race here.
Ah yes, now we can lift off all those heavy rocks, all the gray ones.
Yeah, and I would say his first play is... Oh, looks like he's going to buy some more potions first.
See, saying adieu to his good friend, the Golden Bee. Looks like he's opting to complete all those fetch quests all in one go here, which is not a bad idea since he's all the way around.
Meanwhile, we see Spiffers making great work of that fire rod, making quick work of the right guards here.
Ah yes, we're using the fire rod like that, and he does have a bit of magic to spare, so might as well use it. Makes these guards not a problem, because as you can see, they take quite a few hits and they are plenty annoying.
Absolutely, and he will have his magic refilled after his Aghanim 1 fight. Okay, so we see ThreeDucks. Looks like he's heading back into Skullwoods here to finish off Moth now.
Going for the rematch.
Indeed he is, with some more potions in tow, a little bit more hearts. Um, should be a good, clean fight for him.
Now we still need plenty of items for these players to actually be in go mode, and there's a lot of dungeons they can also complete. As we said a bit earlier, there's a few items they can find inside of Palace of Darkness, and there's also a few items that they could find inside of inside Meyer. They haven't checked that area yet.
Right, indeed. If they do have Meyer Bombos Medallion, perhaps they could check out Meyer, which would be great for them. With both players having boots now, they can both access it. Also, Pod actually isn't a bad play at this point either, because like you mentioned earlier, Dynasty, they now have the lamp, so that was probably a big deterrent for them with the dark rooms there, especially that nasty dark turtle room. So they'll actually be able to explore that in full and within the logic as well.
Spiffers got through the Aga 1 fight, and he will now be able to go see what's on the pyramid item. Unfortunately, it was nothing useful.
Yeah, just a couple of explosive rocks. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks making nice work of that moth fight there, defeating him quite handily.
Getting him, I believe, was the 5th crystal or 6th, one or the other.
Indeed, one or the other. It is a Fat Fairy required crystal.
Yeah, and at this point, we're not likely to see that soon because they do need the flippers to get anywhere inside Swamp.
So we had a question in chat if Bombos actually does damage to Moth. It does not. The only boss I can recall will take any form of damage from Bombos in general would be a Cold Stare, and that's basically only the ice block encompassing him.
Yeah, that's true. That is a quick way to get rid of it. Because unless you have half magic, it takes your whole magic bar with the fire rod to break off the ice.
Indeed, it is a quite safe way to do it. You do save a lot of magic if you only have the regular magic upgrade, and will allow you to have some fire rod shots for Cold Stare. Very handy if you only have Master Sword.
Oh, definitely. Any boss in the Dark World, really, when you only have the Master Sword, takes quite a while to just sword them to death. That's why you see a lot of hammer strats involving these bosses, or in even some cases, silver arrows if they get it early on.
Indeed, and we see Spiffers getting his life lesson from Zora as well.
Now, ThreeDucks is going through his Thieves Town, and he will probably be able to complete it in one go with the setup he has right now. In the meanwhile, Spiffers is looking to a few more overworld locations, trying to find probably the flippers or the hookshot to be able to explore a bit more.
Indeed, and looks like he's about to pick up his Titan Mitts as well. Why not? It'll be interesting to see where he takes those Titan Mitts now.
I think that there's also a good incentive to maybe go look at what's on Darkworld Death Mountain by going up the mountain using the mirror and going all the way around.
Yep, they would be having access to 3 items now. that they haven't had access to before. 2 in the Super Bunny Cave, and actually 1 in the Hookshot Cave by virtue of the boots. And I think Meyer is actually Bombos here.
I haven't quite seen it in the corner of my eye. Not sure if that was Bumbos or Ether. Looks like chat is saying it's Bumble, so I'll believe you. I'll believe you all.
They do, in fact, have everything to complete Meyer here, so it'll be interesting to see if Spiffers does elect to go in here. I think he's definitely going to mirror and finish Desert. It'll be interesting, definitely interesting to see if he does Meyer.
At this point, I don't see any reason not to. Maybe just having another sword, but it's definitely completable at this point.
Absolutely, and it looks like he's going to mirror out and complete Desert first.
Not a bad play. He might find his tempered or silver arrows along the way here, making everything inside of Meyer a lot easier to go through.
Right, I can't remember if we actually found the second item in Desert yet, so Lamolus could have that second item.
ThreeDucks is now entering a blind fight, which is going to be pretty much over in a flash.
Right, and he's also electing to pull out the Blue Cane. Great safety to have for this fight. Blue Cane actually does do damage to the blind head, so if he elected to, he could literally just stand there and let the Blue Cane do the rest.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best safeties to have on this boss, other than maybe the cape itself, just because, as you said, it does damage, but it does lag the game quite a bit.
Right, and that Blue Cane does make quick work of him. Very nice. Meanwhile, we have Spiffers almost on his way to almost at Lamolus here.
And from the looks of it, it looks like ThreeDucks is going to go rescue a frog here. It's not a bad play, depending on how he's going to route everything. Doing a bit more of these, even more of these fetch quests here. Getting the frog back, getting the purple chest back.
Yep, definitely items we haven't seen yet.
Now, it looks like the Smiths only gave him a few rupees, and the bat won't give him much better. But there's still the Hammer Cave just back in Darkworld here, and after that, there is the purple chest. And once he's done with those, he might also check Bombos. And after that, he's probably going to dungeon dive again.
Indeed, he will. Spiffers is electing to go into Meyer here. This is quite exciting. I mean, think about where the seed's taking you right now. So it had that Agnum required Titans. We had the Titans early flute and toe, early red cane through the flute. We have our fire source, so we could full clear this dungeon.
Indeed, it's one of those dungeons that is not quite easy to route in, depending on where the various keys, big keys, and items are.
Right, you're essentially at the whim of the randomizer at that point. It can be a very, very tricky dungeon to route. Like you mentioned, just because items can be literally anywhere, and Mire can be very, very trolly with where the items can go. The worst is typically big key on that right side there, besides the big key chest.
It looks like ThreeDucks got got a bit sidetracked here as he wanted to go back to go give the purple chest, but since he did beat Agam, he got transported on top of the pyramid wheel while saving quitting. It's one of those things that happens when you do beat the wizard.
Yeah, he was just taking the purple chest for a mini world tour, just seeing the sights of the pyramid, and cashes in the passenger that was the green rupee. Looks like ThreeDucks is making a similar play now just to check out what Medallion Mire is, confirming its Bombos, and is probably going to check out Mire Shed and Checkerboard here as well.
ThreeDucks is probably going to have a bit less trouble inside of Mire just because he does have the red mail. It does make a difference starting around this dungeon inside of the Dark World, as enemies get tougher, do more damage, and the bosses are very deadly too.
Oh, indeed. It's really going to shine for when he has to encounter Wizrobes, and more importantly, Vitreous himself.
Yes, there's nothing worse than just dying to Vitreous just because he bumps into you.
On Spiffers having a little bit of troubles with the puzzle here with the fire rod, but does manage to make quick work of it just in time to get the torches lit. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks making his way to the boss of desert, that is the Lamola's worms. So chat's asking the question if they play the exact same random game or if it's different. For the purposes of the tournament and most races organized through Speedruns Live, they actually do race the exact same seed.
Indeed, for fairness sake, they do have to race the same thing to be able to call that really a race. Spiffers is trying his best to route in every chest inside of Mire here. He did find all of the good items, such as the big key, so he can go look inside the big chest here.
Wow, and a great fight there from ThreeDucks, actually using the bow to compensate for his low magic deficiency of the fire rod. So excellent effort by him.
Indeed, because as far as these guys have as equipment, they do not have a lot of really good weapons so far.
Right, and it looks like the second item will be at Vitreous. I believe you got a small key on that left chest beside the big key chest. So we're still looking for one here.
He found a shield in here. But Vitreous is going to be a quite interesting fight to see. I don't know if I think he has enough arrows. Not sure.
He'll have definitely enough arrows for the main eye of Vitreous. It only takes 8. Meanwhile, each small eye actually takes 3 arrows, so he won't have enough for all of them. So he has a couple of options here to approach this fight. Probably the safest one would be to equip the cape and either do spins or dash through the ice just to do the damage. He'll have enough time with magic to be able to defeat all the small eyes if he's quick with it.
That is true. It's one of these cases where safeties will give you a much easier fight than not using them at all.
Oh yes, this fight could be way worse. It could force them in open mode logic for a hammer fight at Vitreous, so luckily they don't have to go through that. And it did look like Spiffers was going to try spins initially, but he's just going to slash his way through it. And as you see, actually, a neat little tech. I'm not sure if he's aware of it, but if you have that cape on and you sword slash, you actually slow down the rate that your magic depletes.
Huh, I did not know that.
Yes, the cape is actually quite buggy in the game. If you actually hold down a wall and pull, you'll actually not drain any magic either.
We'll keep that in mind for future use.
Yeah, and we just get a full heart container from Vitreous, so he did contain the second item. So other than a shield, no real value. We know ThreeDucks is going to get his fire shield here, and we still have a lot of map to cover here in dungeons. Overworld-wise, not a whole lot to check. I think both runners haven't really checked North World yet. North Dark World, I should say, with the Graveyard Ledge and the Titaned Mitts blocked, or mirror-locked Graveyard Ledge. Or sorry, Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb.
Yes, that's true. It's one of their locations that they still need to check because there's also, as I said earlier, Dark World, Death Mountain. But at this point, since they do not have the hook shot, there's not a lot they can do around there. Of course, they could try to enter Turtle Rock, depending on what medallion is blocking it.
Right, that wouldn't be a bad play at this point to actually go up and check there now, because it could eliminate an item for them for Gomo by going up to T-Rock and seeing that it is Bombos indeed. So that, say they did have Hookshot, Ice Rod, and Flippers down below, they wouldn't really have to worry about finding other medallions.
Indeed, and at this point, we might be looking at double dipping into some of these dungeons to actually be able to complete it, such as going into Turtle Rock, finding the Flippers, having to go to Swamp and finding the Ice Rod or something like that. It's always a possibility.
Mean. That's just mean, that double dip Swamp.
Yeah, it's it's mean, but it is inside the logic, so it is possible.
Indeed it is, but it's that would haunt all our nightmares if these racers had to go through that. Alright, so Spiffers is going in to finish his Skullwoods journey by defeating Moth. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks is going to go through, check out the big key chest and the small chest for the map and key. Will make his way over to Vitreous now.
Now, another thing these guys could do that we haven't mentioned is trying to go into Ice Palace early. Now, they can't really enter it by normal means, but by using the fake flippers, they can get there pretty easily.
You're right, they definitely could. We do know flippers are required for Swamp, but that is not stopping our racers from potentially going into Ice Palace and finding some value. It could be a bit of a troublesome trip if they aren't aware of the two bomb jumps in there, primarily the second one in the hookshot room, but if they can nail both those jumps, they'll be able to traverse it pretty freely.
Indeed. Of course, that is quite a gamble to go through since the Ice Palace itself is only a pendant. And I think before going there, they would probably try to go into Pod first.
Right, I think that would be the number one gamble they could make right now is that Ice Palace play. You're right. right, so Spiffer's making nice work of that Moth fight there, defeating him quite handily. Interesting to see where he's going to go from here. And by the looks of it looks like he's going to try and route in Northworld here.
Yeah, I think it's at this point it's probably has still value in looking at before trying to another dungeon, since it's very far out inside the northern Hyrule here to go, since there's not a lot to do there aside from just a few locations that are very out of the way. But since he's missing a few locations and he doesn't seem to like to dive inside dungeons, especially pendant dungeons, he might do that.
Right, and ThreeDucks having a little bit of issue with the Vitreous fight, but did have a blue potion in there to aid him and get him some more magic. And now we're seeing a little bit more of that cape exploit with the magic there. Definitely a cool trick. Chat's definitely loving the cape strats.
Looks like Spiffers is going to go inside Hammer Cave and doing the short quest of bringing back the frog to his brother, just to net himself a bit of money.
Right, he is doing some slick item dashing there as well to get through those hammer bags quite handily.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my favorite tricks from playing the randomizer, really. It's something that's only on the Japanese version of A Link to the Past, I believe.
You are correct. So, question in chat was if Vitreous could be killed before the small eyes. The answer is no. I do believe you can damage him beforehand. You will get the damage sound and actually see his eye flash, but by the time you do enough damage, I believe you'll have all the other small eyes dead by them because they will float towards you.
That is a great question. I did not know that. I mean, I never tried really, but it's good to know.
All right, and ThreeDucks actually looks like he's going for the graveyard and the King's Tomb check here. So these are locations we haven't seen yet.
And Spiffers will be fairly disappointed with the single green rupee inside the purple chest.
And we get the other single green rupee in that graveyard ledge. So we already had synchronized blue mail. Now we have synchronized single currency. And we just have a piece of heart in the King's Tomb there.
Now at this point, I think it's probably best to go inside of Palace of Darkness, and this is what ThreeDucks is doing. So yeah, I think that's a good play right now.
Most definitely a lot of items there, 5 items. It is a pendant dungeon, so you know they're not going to have the value of having one of their 7 crystal goal for Ganon achieved, but definitely valuable, definitely within the logic right now.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry, I mean at this point there's not much that will be holding him back in the logic.
That was exactly what I was going to say, is at this point you might as well go into pendant dungeons, since anyway version 26 tend to favor a lot pendant dungeons for having something useful in it. You just have to consider them like big, really big caves. Some of them are hyped, some of them are not. Now, starting with the small key here in the first chest is the what you usually see from Palace of Darkness. Gives them access to most of the chest here in the beginning. Of course, these guys both have the hammer and the bow, so they wouldn't be bow lock anyway, but it's still a nice way to route around. And it looks like the second chest here already has the flippers, so we see the, right here the value of going into Palace of Darkness.
Right, so definitely already getting the early value here in Paw. They do, in fact, need those flippers for Gomo for Swamp Palace. It now does put them within logic to go to the dreaded Ice Palace Pendant Dungeon.
Of course, being able to also go into part of Swamp, which is not desirable, but at this point, what are you gonna do? Go part of the Swamp or all of Ice Palace just to find maybe your Go mode item? It's a hard gamble, really. Let's hope it's inside of here, inside of Palace of Darkness. All the items inside of here.
Definitely be the value palace, that's for sure. Alright, so ThreeDucks just finding a bunch of small keys here in Pod so far, other than the flips. Very traditional start to Pod, just because of how the key logic works. Basically doesn't want you to get key lock or bypass, so you can't access any rooms. And Spiffer's getting the Turtle Rock Scout, actually, and finds out that it is Quake, so we do have to add one more item to Go mode here.
Indeed, he will be checking what's inside of Super Bunny Cave and the first item of Hookshot Cave. If he's lucky and he finds a hookshot here, he'll be able to access a few more locations.
Alright, let's see what's in that hookshot cave. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks checking the main chest here, just for a small key. I'm excited for this chest coming up in Hookshot Cave. I think it's going to be good.
Oh yeah, could you imagine that? The hookshot being right here?
Aw, just another pea in a bottle.
Torp, why?
Alright, so Spiffer is going ahead to go check out the Spy Cave now. He's going to find his fire shield in there.
In the meantime, ThreeDucks is still exploring Palace of Darkness here. He's still trying to find a bit more value in it. He does find a big key, so he'll be able to access all what's left of Palace of Darkness.
Right, and he has found all the small keys in Pod, so he is just going to find items and the remaining dungeon items as compass and map, and he does get the silvers here, so he's continuing to find the value in Pod.
Indeed. Silvers are not technically required to beat, as silverless cannon is a thing, but it does remove a lot of stress, especially for most of these Dark World bosses here.
Oh, indeed it does, and Ganon himself, that's the real prize with those silvers. If they do, in fact, have to do Master Sword Ganon, it's going to shave a couple of minutes off their the run.
And Spiffers is making his way through Pod, which is definitely a good idea. Oh, and
There's
that's fine. Quake! That's amazing. All of the value. Was amazing. And he decides to leave Palace of Darkness right now, which is probably in his best interest.
I do believe that was his 5th item, but that was an amazing pod there. Does get 2 progressive items. As we do know, Quake is required for T-Rock and does get the flippers, so it'll be interesting to see where ThreeDucks decides to take this.
Indeed, because I do not think he went up to Death Mountain in the Dark World, so he doesn't know it that Quake will be useful for him.
Right, and the first place he's actually taking that is going to be checking out Waterfall Cave. So this is an area of the game we haven't had legitimate access to yet within the logic.
Yep, that's true. They could have accessed it a bit earlier, but it was kind of out of the way to go into. So right now, they'll be able to check those 2 chests here that have been added inside of version 25, or is it 26?
I believe it's 25. And we just get 10 arrows and a +5 bomb upgrade. So I wonder where ThreeDucks is going to go from here. Oh, and he's going to go up to Death Mountain. He's going to be happy with this check.
Oh yes, and he might actually go into Turtle Rock with this check here, since he does have most of the items he needs to complete it.
I mean, why not? It is a crystal dungeon. You are short the ice rod, but with what is it? 5 items within the dungeon itself, and a 6th item at the Mimic Cave. Might as well.
Yeah, it's a very good gamble at this point. I mean, besides this and going into Swamp for a few chests here without the hookshot, yeah, I'd rather go into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, no one likes to full clear Swamp.
Now, Ice Palace is not completely out of the question yet. Until we do have the go mode from these guys here, we still need to find the hookshot. It is required because you cannot finish Swamp without it.
I think they're going to find that hookshot in Turtle Rock. What do you think?
I'm going to be mean and say hookshot is inside a swamp.
Yeah, that indeed is very mean.
It would make for an interesting thing, though.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. I think if it does turn out that hookshot is there, it's probably one of the last locations both our runners are going to end up checking. So, hoping for their sake and their sanity, it's not there.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than finding an item in its location it normally is in a non-randomized seed. I mean, it is a randomizer. You don't expect it to not be randomized.
That is true. Oh no, and Spiffer's getting blocked out by the bomb toss there. Just a little bit too late on the timing.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but if he really wants, he could also just use the King of Samaria. He does have it.
Alright, so ThreeDucks is electing to mirror back out to the light world here. It looks like he's going to open up T-Rock. Does he go in?
For his sake, I hope so, because that's gonna be pretty hype. See what's inside Turtle Rock.
Alright, he's going to go in. Meanwhile, Spiffers is just moments away from finding his silver arrows. Going to be extremely happy with that find.
Now, ThreeDucks will be making his way inside of Turtle Rock here. As we said earlier, there's a lot of treasures to be found inside this dungeon. The only thing he cannot do is defeat the boss itself, but apart from that, there's fairly a lot of things to find. Of course, it might require a bit of trickery here on the last part, the famously called laser bridge.
Right, so they have options there as well. They could walk through the lasers, skipping them that way. They can use what's called laser skip with the boots by skipping it, clipping the railing. They also have safeties in Blue Cane and Cape, which is actually built into the logic right now for having progression there as well.
That's true. With these safeties now, they pretty much have every way possible to go through this room apart from the mirror shield itself.
All
Making
right,
great use here of a cape.
absolutely. So Spiffer's having his quake leaves. Let's see where he goes from here. Now, is he going to ice or is he going to Zora?
Well, I think that's ice.
He's gonna check the island first.
Spiffers, you troll.
He's going to Hobo. I don't know, there's still time.
Oh yeah, definitely debated right there.
Speaking of switch trolls, ThreeDucks unfortunately doesn't get the timing in line for the block switch there and gets blocked out of there. But he's going to be able to push the block for the chest here. Also has to be mindful of his health here. One more hit, he will die. Luckily, though, unfortunately, he gets out.
Now, Spiffers did find his red mail quite a time longer than ThreeDucks did. I think he found it about 1 hour earlier. But apart from that, it didn't quite net him anything good. And as we know, there's nothing good in this part he's going to.
Indeed, he's just going to find the not worth in here of arrows and the bomb upgrade. But let's see if he decides to tantalize us again with the Ice Palace play or not. Oh, and it does look like he's going back.
He better with that taunt inside of it, outside of it. He owes me one.
He is. So this is actually, you know what? At this point, with the dungeons they have, no real bad plays really left. Turtle Rock, great play, lots of items. Ice Palace, getting the flippers late is a great play as well. So let's see which one pays off for our runners here.
Indeed, because Turtle Rock is a crystal dungeon, so it is worth it to go through. But if ThreeDucks does not find the ice rod anywhere inside of here, he will need to go through it all over again, which will take less time the next time, but it is still a major detour.
Right, and if he has issues with bomb jumps and the like, he could go through it quite vanilla with the switches, dependent if he does get lucky with key placement. So hook shot could be in very much any part of Ice Palace here.
Ooh, but having an early big key here is quite fortunate for Spiffers.
Right, he probably would have wanted to see the small key just so he could win along the right side and completely avoided the bomb jump. But he could get it in the big key or the Freezer room and potentially save him those jumps.
Meanwhile, ThreeDucks only finds a big heart inside of Mimic Cave, so we're not having any of that ice rod inside of Mimic today. Spiffer is going through these skeletons very fast, doing the the difficult strat of just killing them both with a single bomb.
Yeah, it's quite the nice tech to do, and it looks like he is electing not to do the bomb jump here.
Which is something we see kind of often when the big key is that early.
Oh, we get a mushroom on ThreeDucks side, so the fetch quest stream is alive.
Oh, indeed. That's one item we haven't seen that it could completely change the routing. We don't see it often that a very late fetch quest has something useful on it, but it's still possible.
All right, so ThreeDucks approaching the laser skip. Spiffers approaching Freezer room. Let's see which gamble pays off here. Small key from Spiffers, so that's going to make most of Ice accessible to him without the hook shot. I think that's a tell.
Meanwhile, ThreeDucks only found himself a red boomerang so far. And $20. He is locked.
That's unfortunate, but he does have that mushroom now.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick check to the mushroom. So he's going to check that right away just in case it has one of those go mode items they need. The worst thing would be actually having the ice rod right here, since he just went through all of Turtle Rock.
And there's the ice rod. That's just plain mean right there. Mushroom in Turtle Rock, ice rod at the witch hut.
So I think I'm retiring. Okay, that was quite a nasty blessing to have there.
The forced double dip to T-Rock in just the worst way imaginable. That's frustrating. But
Yeah.
I know ThreeDucks is going to say, well, the other racer's going to have to go through this as well. My opponent's going to have to share my pain, so I'm not that upset about it.
Yeah, it's as we've seen, you have to go exactly that way to get your ice rod. So at least there's a small thing of, oh, my opponent needs to do the same thing. But still, it's, oh man, it was such a bad item placement.
It was, but at least he has it. It's one item that he needs for go mode, and I do believe T-Rock does have one more item, so he's going to go right back into it. Why not?
Now, Spiffers could still find the hookshot inside of Ice Palace here. If that's the case, that would be still a good gamble for him to go inside of here.
Indeed it would. I believe he has the jelly chest, the big key chest, and cold stare himself. And he has 2 items here now, so we do have 1 item left.
One thing to note here is at least both of these players do have the powder. So if they want, they can powder an anti-fare to get an easy health refill.
Right, which Spiffers is actually going to elect to do now by picking up some of that magic.
It's one of those things that you're very happy to see early on the powder, as it makes going through the Dark World dungeons very trivial.
Indeed it does, and I was actually wondering if he was going to do this. He's actually electing to drop down here and collect some safety fairies too. This is a very sharp play, heads up play by him.
You can see here ThreeDucks is making his way through Turtle Rock for the second time, and this time it's taking a lot less time since every chest is already open, and some of the puzzles are already done too, so no key collecting, nothing of the sorts. Just
Yep.
going right through as fast as possible.
Just a nice, quick evening stroll through T-Rock, indeed. He is going to have to deal with a Master Sword Trinex, but in the meanwhile, we see Spiffers ending up with a Master Sword Cold Stare, and he is electing to use that Bombos, being low on magic.
Yeah, I definitely like this play from going to Cold Stare like that. And having a bit of hammer hits too is not a bad idea. You might even see him get the Fire Rod out just to finish him, this boss.
Yeah, I do like those swag hammer strats by Spiffers here. Definitely going to speed up the fight a little bit. He does have the fairies in the back of his mind as well, so even if he does take a lot of damage here with Red Mail and those safety fairies, this fight should be pretty easy for him.
Now, ThreeDucks is going in. Wow.
There it is. There's the hook shot at ice.
That is. Wow. That is something. At least it wasn't in Swamp.
Right, so now between our runners, we have go mode. So Spiffers has the hook shot, needs Ice Rod. ThreeDucks has the Ice Rod, needs the hook shot. The question now is, do each runner go to the respective dungeons they need to go to?
Looks like ThreeDucks is having a bit of an issue with this boss here, which I can definitely understand. Between not having enough magic and having to dodge everything this boss throws at you, Trinex is not an easy boss, especially with only the Master Sword.
Indeed, he's not, especially with that ice floor on there. Meanwhile, I do want to point out, Spiffers is electing to go to Swamp here. We know this isn't the play he wants to do, but it might not necessarily turn into a bad play if he runs into something like Tempered down here.
Indeed, at this point, it's really he needs to do a swamp anyway to get one of the crystals. One of the plays we might see him do is just complete the dungeon before checking left side. It's a thing I've seen a couple of times with players only missing one item.
Right, and it puts him away from a situation where T-Rock could have been a great play to now being the gamble with Swamp now being full cleared, and it is a crystal. On top of that, it's also the second Fat Fairy crystal, so he might be thinking 8 items here.
Yeah, that's from what we know, it's not the correct play, but it's still technically a right thing to do.
Indeed.
Now, ThreeDucks got through his fight pretty easily. He did use a blue potion to gain a bit more magic, as without half magic, Trinex is not to be trifled with. Even missing just a few shots on Master Sword can net you just not having enough magic to complete it.
All right, is ThreeDucks going to go into Swamp here? This is good for Spiffers if he does.
Yup, it does look like it.
Okay, so now this is essentially a wash here because Spiffers is going to full clear Swamp. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks is only going to be able to check out half of Swamp, basically locked into the left side. Will not be able to progress the north towards Argus.
Does realize he does need to drain the dam if he wants to continue into Swamp Palace. That's why you need the mirror, people.
Indeed, he does. A common mistake made by a lot of runners.
Yeah, and I prefer to see this mistake than a later one inside Ice Palace. The all mentioned the, the the flood key. It's one of those mistakes that you do once or twice in your life and you never want to make it again.
All right, Spiffer's racing like his tournament life on the line, electing to skip left side right now, going right to Argus. There are about 3 other chests along the way here he's going to be able to get items for, but without having either map or compass, I believe this is the right play.
So far, he's been really fast inside of Swamp Palace. He obviously did not check the left side often to skip it up, maybe having no items there. Unfortunately, I did miss what was in that last chest here.
I missed it as well, but it wasn't Tempered Sword, so that's probably the only thing you really would have wanted.
That is true. Now, fighting Argus here, he will not be able to one-shot the small puffballs just with one hit of the Master Sword, which some people tend to use the hammer instead when using menu strats. Either way, it takes a fairly long while to kill all those.
Right, it definitely could be a faster fight. Traditionally, Master Sword wise, you want to stick to that sword, even though it is a little bit of a slower fight with the 2 hits. It will be faster than the menuing the hammer, though. Luckily for both our racers, they don't have to go through a fighter sword Argus variant where either they have to grab 2 of those puffs with the hook shot, or menuing strats like you mentioned with the hammer.
Now, Argus only dropping a 20 rupees, not anything that Spiffers want to see here, since he does miss a few items that he'll need to look on the left side, which ThreeDucks decided to go through first.
Indeed, and looks like Spiffers is electing to go back into check out left side here.
I think in total there's still 2 items, one and the map.
Indeed, I can't remember if they got the big key as well.
That could have been in the chest we did miss.
Right, so if it is big key and map on the left side here, they're definitely going to want to see the one item. Then they'll be able to... Oh no, the Spiffers, I think, had the map, or the menu out. He does have the map, so it will be 2 items left in Swamp here. So we'll have 1 item in the big key on the left side chest here, and then we'll have the other item in the big key chest itself.
Yeah, and you'll have to go up these stairs twice because they do not... He does not have the hook shot, unlike Spiffers.
Right, another little unfortunate time loss there, but hopefully after this, it does kind of pull him towards ice. I'm not sure if there's a lot of other locations ThreeDucks hasn't checked other than Ice Palace right now.
Well, there is Eastern that he did not finish. He opted to not go to the big key chest to find his shovel. That might be waiting on him too.
That is true, and I think he did die in that dark room, so he does have Armos Knights as well, which do in fact have the green pendant.
And he finds the Tempered Sword. Now, that was probably the only really good item that he could have found out of that dungeon.
Right, and unfortunately for him, Spiffer's actually electing to do left side will find that Tempered Sword as well. So that would have been a pretty nice advantage for him having to do that left side, but now it's going to be basically even for both our runners now.
Yep,
All right. All right, so it looks like ThreeDucks is electing to go into ice now. This is definitely the play he wants to do because we all know that hookshot is at cold stare.
Indeed, it's just going to be the last item he needs to be in go mode. Meanwhile, it looks like Spiffers might be going for the big bomb. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, why not? You're still looking for that ice rod. You're not thinking T-Rock at this point. You're thinking committing to that ice palace. It's the Fat Fairy Crystal as well. Let's see what's inside that pyramid.
And here we'll see a small time save from doing Aghanim 1. When you do defeat the wizard the first time here, you get a free Dark World access from going through the gates. So it makes getting the bomb over to the pyramid a bit faster.
Indeed, one of the nice perks of having to do Aghanim 1 for sure.
Gets rewarded with the Riot Shield, so now Laser Bridge is definitely not a problem for him.
So ThreeDucks electing to use the bomb jump here. Not a bad play because we do know that the small key will be accessible to him early enough that he won't have to worry about mirroring out.
He does have a bit of problem with his placement, it seems, but it is a very hard trick, and he gets it.
Yeah, very nicely done. Now we do know that ThreeDucks will have a little bit of an advantage here because he does have Tempered Sword. Will make for faster clear of the dungeon itself, getting through the Pen Gators, but will more importantly mean for an easier fight at Cold Stare.
Now, at this point, we might actually see Spiffers look what's inside these chests we haven't seen inside of the Hookshot Cave, because he does have it this time.
Oh, we most definitely will see that. In Spiffer's case, like I mentioned with Tempered Sword, he's probably going to want to find Butter here, just to give him a little bit of an edge equipment-wise.
It's also not a bad place to have half magic before Trihex.
Yes, that would also be nice for Trinex. Also nice for G-Tower, too. If he can blaze up Ganon's tower with the Fire Rod. Specifically in Gauntlet.
Oh yeah, these rooms, you might as well use Fire Rod or even Bombos if you really don't feel like just clearing.
Alright, so we are going to see what's inside Hookshot Cave here.
Fortunately, not getting anything of value in there. Now, I don't remember if ThreeDucks does have a fairy on him, because he's down at 2 hearts, and dying in ice balance is not fun at all. It's pretty long to go back to the boss.
Yeah, he does not want to die here, but fortunately enough, he is coming up to the fairy and the anti-fairy room here, so he will be able to get some hearts. And it does look like he does have a blue potion he is going to elect to use here.
Spiffers can now use the correct strat in that room and uses the cane dash. That is always so swag to see. One of these days I'm gonna use it in a race. One of these days.
Definitely is swag. ThreeDucks also electing to use Bombos on Cold Stare, going to speed up the process for him by having some extra Fire Rod shots for him. And with that Tempered Sword, he's going to make quick work of Cold Stare.
Yeah, between Fire Rod and Tempered, this boss has no chance of defeating ThreeDucks.
All right, and with that, ThreeDucks obtains his hookshot from Cold Stare, and now he's in fact in go mode, with only a portion of Swamp really left to complete before he can head up to Ganon's Tower.
And it looks like Spiffers is also getting trolled by the Chain Chomps here.
All right, meanwhile, Spiffers does have to continue on his way through T-Rock. Unbeknownst to him, what troll awaits in that mushroom. I mean, he's probably thinking, oh, I'm going to get the Ice Rod and Laser Bridge. No, it's much, much worse.
Yeah, because getting it on Laser Bridge is trolly, but at least you can finish the dungeon.
Right, he would have just been able to complete Trinex and go right to Ganon's Tower. And in fact, if that were the case, this race would be very, very close. But now he's going to have to get that mushroom. He'll probably finish off Laser Bridge before mirroring out and then go check in the mushroom and come back. Now, interesting enough, because he's in this situation, he could actually leave his mirror portal near the I can't remember if it's the emergency exit or if it's the mimic area, and actually drop back down and have a quick warp back into halfway through T-Rock.
Oh, it's not something we see all the time too. It's going to be a really cool tactic if he decides to do that.
Could be a great equalizer that's going to help him out, keep it close in this race.
Now, ThreeDucks did lose a bit of time to having to reflood part of Swamp Palace here. Now, at this point, I'm assuming that most of the items that are left are probably in Ganon's Tower, such as Butter Sword and Half Magic, which could help out a bit. but really, it really only helps marginally.
Indeed it will, but they're definitely going to want to get as many good items as they can for Ganon's Tower. It is one of the toughest parts of the game. Could be particularly trolly, but with the equipment they have, I feel like they are quite well equipped. But, I mean, if you can get butter and half magic, why not? It's just going to make it that much breezier for you.
Yeah, and we might see them to do a final stop at the potion shop to get a few potions before going to Ganon's Tower, which is really acceptable considering how hard this final dungeon is.
All right, so Spiffer's making his way to the cave of the laser skip of disappointment because he will not find his ice rod there. We do know it's at the mushroom spot. But as I alluded to before, is he going to remember about that quick warp at the emergency exit? That's going to save him a couple of minutes, and like I mentioned, that could be a great equalizer for him right now. Oh no! Did he mirror?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I don't think he checked all the chests either.
I think he did. Not sure. Maybe he just remembered that he could use the emergency exit with a quick portal, as you said.
He might have. He might have died. I'm not quite sure. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here, so it's hard to tell if he did mirror or if he did die by chance.
Meanwhile, ThreeDucks did stop to buy a few potions on his way up to Ganon's Tower.
Oh wow, he did remember. That's why he's coming back.
It's a bit of a costly mistake, but it's not as costly, I think, to go through Ganon's Tower all over again.
All right, I would say he clearly knows about this trick because he has elected to come back to this emergency exit to check out the mushroom. And I think he has full cleared the game up to here, so he knows that Ice Rod should be here.
It was a bit strange to go inside the shop before giving the mushroom. I was expecting him to do so after.
I think he just wanted full health for the reveal of the Ice Rod. And there it is. Spiffers is in go mode at 2 hours and 3 minutes. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks was at go mode at about 1:54. ThreeDucks, in fact, making his way to Ganon's Tower right now. You know what that means, Dynasty.
Yes, it's time to guess which chest has the big key. So put your numbers in the chat, people. It's somewhere around 1 and 22. I usually go with 2 because what's more hype than having a sword in the first chest and the big key in the second chest?
So you're going with number 2. I think I'm going to go with Firebar. That's my one I normally go with.
Well, I'm already out, but can't be right all the time. I already got one bad prediction this race.
I see quite a few calls for the tile room in chat.
Yeah, tile room is one of those things that could put Spiffers back in it if he decides to do it early on.
And Spiffers is remembering about that quick warp. That's huge for him. Now, unfortunately, because it did look like he mirrored, going back in, lost maybe a minute of the 2-minute time save here, but he is still saving time. That's the important part.
Indeed, and it looks like ThreeDucks already found his big key and 2 small keys. He's going up the tower very fast.
Indeed, well, Spiffers is dashing his way to try next.
Now, this is the part they call the gauntlet inside of Ganon's tower. It's a very long series of rooms that are quite hard. As you can see here, he's getting very massively trolled by these red mimics.
Yeah, I wasn't shy when I mentioned it is one of the toughest parts of the game. It is essentially the final dungeon you do complete. So why not have your toughest challenges yet?
You will need to still be careful around here, as enemies will hit him quite hard, with all the traps hitting him for, I think was a whole heart, most of them do. So he will still eat a lot of damage.
Indeed. ThreeDucks actually electing to skip the safety room that was just past that cannonball room. Where that bombable wall is, it actually contains 2 fairies and a full magic jar as well. Meanwhile, Spiffer's making extremely quick work of that Trinex fight with Tempered and very briskly making his way to G-Tower now.
As you can see here, there's conveyor belts, there's ice physics, and BMOs shooting beams at you. It's really not fun rooms to go through.
All right, and it looks like our lovely tracker Lyra has announced the prize for our chat who have guessed the correct chest number 5 for the big key. Wins bacon. And chat are indeed fans of that prize.
ThreeDucks making quick work of the Landmolas. I believe he got a 2-round.
Something around there, 2-round or 3-round, but nonetheless, very quick work with those silvers. Nice job.
Yeah, it's quite hard sometimes to aim with your silvers, as they do produce a bit of lag, and targets tend to move out of the way of your silvers.
Right, so Spiffer's about to find his big key and gain his tower. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks just finishing off the second Wizrobe room, heading over to the torch room here.
For a second there, I thought he was going to bomb-boost that last chest.
I mean, I felt like that would have been a bold strategy, but you never know what you're going to see. I would have approved of that tactic, honestly. And ThreeDucks, unfortunately, taking a fall at the secondary torch room here. Not going to cost him a whole lot of time, though.
Indeed, since he does have enough magic to still complete the room.
Indeed, and ThreeDucks having pretty much everything he's going to want for Ganon, electing to skip these last 2 chests coming up here. He will have 2 more chests, but if he skips those other 2, I don't see him picking up any more. So Spiffer's just entering the gauntlet now. Meanwhile, ThreeDucks finishing off Moldorm 2 in very fast fashion, electing to check the pre or the post Moldorm chest here of plus 10 arrows. I could be wrong, but I think chat will be happy with that play.
Yeah, it's generally a very accepted play unless you're not doing very well in the race. Now we see Agahin too, with his lots and lots of balls now. With 3 Agahims on the play, he throws at you 3 times as much as balls, and he's not easy to deal with. Most of the time, he gives you awful patterns, and reflecting them back to him is not easy. And it looks like ThreeDucks didn't have much trouble, though. Good on him.
Yeah, he did get a triple there, and that was quite quick Aga fight. I believe it was 4 cycles, but very nice by him. Spiffer is also making quick work of Moldorm 2 here, so he is post-gauntlet aside, going to be heading over to the Wizard rooms now. So he's a couple minutes behind as ThreeDucks is just about to enter Ganon at 2 hours and 10 minutes, but anything can happen at this point.
We got Ganon with the important lore here. Besides that, he does have tempered, so this Ganon fight is going to be pretty short overall.
Indeed, it will be. ThreeDucks at this point just has to make sure not to fall, as a fall would be very costly and would probably allow Spiffers just to catch up.
Yeah, but as we can see, ThreeDucks is already in phase 3 of Ganon, doing very good work so far.
Right, and probably racing through both our runners' minds right now, as Ganon is extremely trolly with these teleports, is why hasn't my opponent finished yet? Where am I in this race? And as we know, they are awfully close to each other.
He does get the torch glitch. It's a very good thing to have when you don't have half magic. It makes a fight quite easier.
Indeed, he is quite low on magic, almost falls into the pit there, and does get the double, and that will be it for Ganon. GG's to ThreeDucks.
Indeed, he did very well now. And in just a short few seconds, he's going to be over with this race. And we do have his official SRL time of 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 38 seconds. GG, ThreeDucks, you are a winner.
Yeah, GG's indeed. That was a really exciting close race by both our runners. Both of them put on a great show for us tonight. So in fact, as I alluded to earlier in the match, this was for the tiebreaker match now against Roach 788. So ThreeDucks will indeed face off against him now in the tiebreaker race for their grouping.
Yeah, and Spiffers gave him a great race all over the place. We weren't even sure who was in the lead for most of this race.
Right, because we saw both our runners make that coin flip play, one to T-Rock, one to Ice, and both of them paid off. I think it was just unfortunate that Spiffers found that hook shot first, because then that put him towards Swamp.
Yeah, it's all about the gambling in randomizers. Sometimes you make the correct gambles, but not in the right order. So it happens. It's part of the fun of the randomizer. Now we'll see ThreeDucks shortly in here to see if he wants an interview.
Yeah, it looks like he's in here. as his words, catching his breath.
Hello, ThreeDucks. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thanks.
ThreeDucks.
Boy, that death to Mafula, the death in the dark room in Eastern Palace, like for me, Randomizer is a game of don't tilt. And I definitely felt myself tilting a little bit, but I kept it together as best I could, and I'm glad that it mattered.
Yeah, it was definitely a small blow early on when we saw these deaths, but it's nice to see that at least you did the correct gambles in the correct order, I should say. A small blow.
Yeah, it was the cold stare gamble in particular. I was like, you know what? If this is wrong, then I'm just sacrificing. But I felt pretty. I don't know why I don't know why I was sure that you had to beat Cold Stare. I just felt like you were. And I was pretty sure I didn't have to go back and kill Helmasaur or Armos, because I was like, if Hookshot were required in one of those earlier dungeons, I would have found that Hookshot was required by now.
Yeah, it was a very interesting seed to see through. I mean, we could say about the hook shot or even ice rod from that mushroom. That was quite a find.
Yeah, that trolley mushroom. I'm glad that I followed my instincts and just went and got it right away. Yeah, that was when I saw that, I was like, it's really too bad that I don't have chat open, because the reactions have just got to be nuts.
Oh yeah, when you make these kinds of plays like that, it always has a strong reaction from the chat. Now, of course, Spiffers did probably exactly the same thing as you did and went to check mushroom right after, with the only exception of going for that safety ledge teleport to get back into the dungeon a bit earlier. So he did pick up a few minutes there.
Oh, interesting. Oh, that is a good idea. I haven't even thought about that before. Wow, he's got tech that I didn't even know about, apparently.
And speaking of Spiffer, he did finish right here with an official time of 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 53 seconds. So congratulations on you both for finishing this seed. It was an amazing seed.
Yeah, that was a fun one. As soon as I got over the 2 early deaths, I got into the groove and I was having fun. So I'm excited to go back and watch the commentary and see how that shook out.
Good game, Spiffers.
Thank you.
That was definitely something interesting as a seed.
Well, my routing was good. My decision making to start the routing was bad. It was an interesting time, because how many times did I flute somewhere, then flute away immediately?
Yeah, it was. It's pretty hard to know where to go sometimes. We've seen you hesitate a bit.
Now, my one question: did ThreeDucks have boots like significantly earlier than me?
Oh yeah,
a bit. Yeah.
Well, I gotta at the 50-minute mark. So if he got it immediately because he got Vanilla Sword and did escape, then he had it for 45 minutes more than me.
I got the Vanilla Sword, and then I decided not to go do the escape. So when I got it, I thought that you had it for significantly longer.
No, my start is actually Sanctuary, pure Sanctuary. So when I got the bomb tree pull, I was like, great, I just get to do... So the first things that I knew were, like, literally was Titan Mitts in Lumberjack Cave. So I knew we had to do Aghanim from the start, so I put off escape for basically until I picked up Lamp and Cape. I put off escape. And then the entirety of escape and got boots and another sword at that point, because that was my second sword by then.
Yeah, I was definitely on like because when I saw the myths like you did at Lumberjack, I said, you know, Lamp has to be early, and so there's no reason. So like when I tried to do Eastern Palace like Dark Room early, and then I died really embarrassingly, and then I just left. And the entire run I was thinking, I really hope that a required item is not like the third item in Eastern.
Well, no, you had all 3 items in Eastern. The only thing it could have been was the green pendant item.
Well,
that's right.
You failed on the Dark Room. You failed on the Dark Room? On the first Dark Room?
No, I skipped the like vanilla big key. I went straight towards the boss, but then I died in the like Igor room because I don't know, because bad.
I was about to say, because all 3 items were before like the I did Armos, which actually technically probably cost me the race. Because I got the 3rd item and like, whatever, I'm doing Armos and gaining the green pendant.
So, just to kind of recap the race for you guys, it was actually quite close for the majority of the race, even though you did, in fact, find boots about 40 minutes later. A lot of locations you guys were doing at the same time, such as Mire and the such. The one definitive play was ThreeDucks went up to T-Rock, and you, Spiffers, went to Ice Palace.
Ice Palace?
Yeah, so you found the hook shot first and then went to Swamp.
Yeah, I like did everything I could in Swamp, and then realized hookshot wasn't there, and then I had to go do Ice.
And that was my other big mistake, was when I mirrored out T-Rock. You guys were commenting on it. When am I connected still? But what I did in T-Rock I finished Laser Bridge, and then mirrored. So I went back to Big Key, and then I'm like, shoot, I should have exited there, mirrored, and left to go do Mushroom. So then I did that part again, because I'm like, it's still going to be fast for me to redo this part now, and then mirror from that ledge, and then jump back down to that ledge after the Mushroom.
Right, it definitely did keep you in there. I was actually wondering if you were going to do that, and then we saw the mirror. You were unfortunately dropping some frames, so we weren't sure if it was a death or if it was a mirror. But then we saw you go back. We're like, oh, did you miss a chest? We're like, I see what you're doing now. It was pretty clever. It was nice.
Yeah, they were... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I will say, unlike you, ThreeDucks, I knew that Mushroom had to be Ice White, or I missed a location. But assuming I didn't miss a location, it had to be the Witch's Hut, and I knew that, of course, with Witch's Hut, I didn't need to go into the Dark World.
Dang, this seed, man. This seed.
So as I put in my note, I 100%ed the world.
Yeah, it was definitely close to that, if not exactly as you said.
Yeah, I had some I had some trouble early, and then I caught my stride, but like I was fighting against Tilt the whole way, so it's good to hear that we were like neck and neck for most of it. I'm really excited to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I had a lot of significant blunders that cost me a lot of time. So one was I actually died on Moldorm as well. I actually died on Moldorm as well. So that was the other big time loss for me.
I'm not going to spoil it for you which boss I died on.
I shouldn't have spoiled it for you either then. Because that would have been a fun one for you. That would have been a fun one for you to watch.
I'm really excited to watch it. Guys, commentators, do you guys have any any other feedback or stuff that we should like try to do or do differently?
I would say just keep doing what you guys are doing, grind out those races, and honestly, considering how bad the seed was, because I mean, Mushroom Ice Rod, come on, right? Just keep up the great work, guys. You'll get there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I will say I got a 144 PB before this race in a practice race.
Wow, dang, dude, that's amazing. Nice job.
And
That's
and
awesome.
as I said to ThreeDucks beforehand, that was a lampless one as well. That was a lampless seed. So I was perfectly happy to say Aghanim because I'm like, I need lamp for this seed. No dark rooms for me.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive to see a lot of dark rooms early on from you guys. So shout out to you for knowing at least part of those dark rooms with not much problem. Continue practicing that because I find it's a very good thing to know going through the game without the lamp.
Yeah. Oh, I
So
missed
with-
my stuff. What was my stuff? I didn't get any of it. I didn't even get it on my own stream. Darn.
Yeah, I am ravenously hungry right now. I have got to go eat some food. Thank you guys for commenting and Spiffers get great job. That's an awesome PB and yeah, I'm really excited for the tiebreak and for the rest of it. And for tracking Lyra, thank you. That's awesome. And for restreaming and everybody, this has been a lot of fun.
I'll try to get on the commentary on your race with Roach.
Nice.
All right.
And again, we'll say thank you again, runners, for giving us a awesome seed to commentate on. It was really fun. So I'll see you guys around for another commentary on my part. It was a pleasure to commentary with you, Solsky.
As pleasure's all mine to commentate with you, buddy. So I guess that's about it. That's going to round us out for Randomizer Mania 2 right now for the secondary tournament. Just reminding you guys that the winner ThreeDucks will be facing off now against Roach 788. Will be a very exciting match to watch. Let's thank the runners for an awesome race tonight. Go give those guys a follow, and of course, thank you to our lovely commentator Lyra, who's done a great job tonight. So go give all those guys a follow.
Of course, our restreamer too, FF Guru. He's been doing a very good job for us too. Thank you very much, everybody, for looking at this race. There's going to be plenty more until, I think, end of December, so there's a lot more to come. And with that, we'll see you another night. See you later.